Hey guys, Matt here, and it's pretty hard to believe at this point, but back in the day, EA Games was my absolute favorite game publisher. And with good reason. Just look at some of the games they released back then. Medal of Honor, Battlefield, Command & Conquer, Burnout, The Simpsons Road Rage, hell, even The Sims. Needless to say, my childhood wasn't filled with, is this game even good? Do I want to play it? Do I need to watch a review? A morally justifiable company? No, it was more like, looks nice, want to play it, I already bought it. But above all these titles and franchises, there was one that pretty much defined my childhood. Need for Speed. Fresh out of the time where our computer could only handle a rented version of Walt Disney World Quest Magical Racing Tour, I thought to myself, well, if every game is such an absolute banger like this one, I'm going to my 6-year-old pants of excitement every time I play something new. And that's exactly what happened in the upcoming years. Nothing grabbed my peanut-sized brain's attention as much as making cars that made the Jellybees look like a black and white movie in Underground 2, or making my parents crazy while I was on an 8-hour sugar-fueled winning streak while driving 5 million kilometers an hour in Most Wanted. I didn't care about reviews or people telling me that games like Forza or Gran Turismo were far better. I absolutely loved every single game. Carbon, the hugely underappreciated Pro Street, Hot Pursuit, and yes, even Undercover.
Very dangerous.
Over-the-top arcadish racing, cars I could never afford, and the greatest soundtracks in gaming history. But just like my vacation to Denmark, where my parents decided on the very last day not to go to Legoland, everything eventually ends in disappointment. And after Shift 2, I pretty much lost interest. Games like Modern Warfare 2 and Battlefield Bad Company 2 were now on the top of my wishlist, and the franchise pretty much faded into obscurity for me. So I was surprised to see every single Need for Speed game I hadn't played, Most Wanted 2012 until Heat, on sale a few weeks ago. And I thought, you know what? Knowing EA's reputation in the past few years and experiencing this reputation in games like Battlefield 5 and Star Wars Battlefront 2, my expectations were at an all-time low. But oh my god. Not even 2020, universally seen as the crappiest year of the century so far, could prepare me for the absolute dumpster fire that Need for Speed has changed into. So today I'm here to answer the question, what the hell happened to Need for Speed? Before we begin, there will be spoilers. For anyone who even remotely cares, and this video is going to be a two-parter since I cover 5 games, so I hope you enjoy. Before I started playing, I started to think about everything I used to love about this franchise. A relatively small roster of cars in relation to other games, full car customization, the arcadey over-the-top style of racing, an absolute banger of a soundtrack, it being not too difficult but still a challenge, and a sort of underdog story that makes you feel like you're working up to something. But most importantly, most of the games were gushing with character. I mean, sure, if you look at games like Most Wanted right now, it all seems a bit cringy and outdated.
First I'm gonna take your ride, then I'm gonna take your girl. Get ready for that.
But at least every single game tried something new or different, which made it, in my opinion, so incredibly charismatic and enjoyable to replay over and over. Sure, that was already starting to fade a bit in games like Shift and Hot Pursuit, but even those games did things to still make it enjoyable. Taking all these things into account, I started playing the first game on my list, Most Wanted 2012. At the time of release, this game was pretty hyped up, because how can a game with the same name as this gem possibly fail? Well, if there's one company who can manage to do that, it's EA, of course. It very quickly became clear that this game has nothing to do with the original. It's not the same city, it's not the same style, not the same cars, not the same characters, and not the same story, because there is no story. Seriously, the game just starts with a cringy opening sequence.
They are the Most Wanted.
And the game tells you that there is a blacklist just like in the actual Most Wanted, but you don't get introduced to the characters in the blacklist. They aren't even characters, they're just cars with names. The cutscenes don't give you any impression of what's going on as well, since they consist of things like this. What the hell even is this? So without any story, it's possible to be an enjoyable game nonetheless. If the cars handle well, the races are fun and there is some sort of challenge in the game, I'd still recommend playing it. While the cars actually handle just fine, the AI in this game is absolutely terrible, which makes the game not only way too easy, but also very annoying. The opponents only seem to win because of very aggressive, very obvious rubber banding, and because of this, driving very slow throughout the race and overtaking everyone at the last point made races easier than to actually race them. If that didn't make races way too easy, the newest feature that was implemented in this game definitely will, which is switching cars whenever you want. You see, throughout this city, random cars are parked, which you can get into simply by driving up to them. A nice surprise at first, and it would be a nice feature if you still start off with slow tier 1 cars and end up with faster ones along later parts in the game. Previous games always let you start off with a very fast car to give you a small impression of what's to come. But then some sort of event always happens and you start off with your actual starting car, and you work your way back up to the higher tier cars. This game gives you that small impression by letting you drive an Aston Martin, but then gives you a Porsche as a starter car. And not more than 100 meters away from where he started, you can find the Ariel Atom, one of the fastest cars in the game. There is no underdog story here. There is no sense of building up a reputation. No, this game is like you going to elementary school and after 5 minutes the teacher tells you, well, fuck it, here's your master's degree. The only cars you will still find after that are slower or are pretty much very aggressively trying to sell you DLC, and holy shit, there's a lot of unnecessary DLC in this game. 4 DLC packs for 40 euros. And what do you get? A few extra cars, which make the total amount of cars you get in this game still just a fraction of what you usually get in Need for Speed games. Now I know the amount of cars in the game does not define the quality of the game. Need for Speed as a whole definitely isn't known for huge rosters of cars you can choose from. But when you add the fact that there is no customization apart from your vehicle's color, and the fact that they're constantly just dangling the DLC cars in front of you throughout the game, it just all smells like many different flavors of poop. Also, fun fact, while the game itself has been lowered in price over the past few years, the DLC is still 40 euros, making it double the amount of money for what you pay for the actual game. And to put the poop-stained cherry on this poop-stained ice cream sundae, the soundtrack is okay at best, but as soon as I've heard what they did to my boy Bubba O'Reilly, I knew that this game was a complete waste of my time and was a worthy contender to gather dust forever on the shelf of games I will never play again. Now, I think it's a good thing to criticize games, especially when they deserve it. But seeing the road Need for Speed was heading after playing this first game, I just started to get sad and afraid for what was to come. While the driving actually felt pretty familiar, and dare I say fun, and I was very happy the game steadily ran on 60 FPS, the negatives far outweigh the positives. It didn't have the same amount of charisma like the original Most Wanted, nor did it bring anything new or interesting to the table. The only new thing, the instant switching of cars, actually did not benefit the game whatsoever. If only the negatives stayed with this game. But then it was time for Need for Speed Rivals. Just picture this. You're at a playground when you were young, and there's this little spoiled asshole you know from school who just pushed you off the swing set. Sure, it hurts, but I mean, you're a tough guy, so you get back up to the swing, thinking you're safe now from all the bullying. But not only does he push you again, no, you also fall headfirst into a pit of poisonous spiders and rusty nails. Well, that's pretty much what playing Rivals feels like after playing Most Wanted. Need for Speed Rivals is pretty much Hot Pursuit in combination with everything that's terrible about Most Wanted 2012. Packaged in a neatly overpriced, underwhelming, sepia-filtered mess. The cars, of which there are so few, handle way worse than in Most Wanted, which in combination with a new sort of health bar system that makes your car feel like it's made out of paper napkins, gets you killed almost instantly. This is especially shitty because the police are more aggressive than ever. So your main goal is, just as in Hot Pursuit, to do races as a normal driver or to arrest these drivers as a cop. There is some sort of progression in both campaigns, in that you can unlock new and faster cars, which would be nice if the AI wouldn't instantly be upgraded to cars which are so much fucking faster than you, not even to speak of the goddamn rubber banding, which is seriously more broken than an elderly person with osteoporosis. A soundtrack that makes Lil Pump look like Beethoven, and unfortunately, that's not even the worst this game suffers from. Because there are two things that made me go from, well okay, it's bad, but I'll just suffer through it, to
Fuck this, I'm never going to fucking play this crap again.
first of all, a feature that from this game on is in every Need for Speed. Always online. So you're in a race, finally beating the god-awful rubber banding AI. Last corner before the finish, and out of nowhere, Triple X Pussy Slayer Triple X decides it's time to
お前はもう死んでいる。何？
which scares the sphincter out of your asshole, slams the controller out of your hands into your computer screen, and makes you realize, yes, okay, my parents were right, video games are not worth it, and I should have done something productive with my life. Seriously, nobody asked for Always Online, and it just doesn't fucking work. Secondly, probably one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in gaming. So this game came out around the time the then new PS4 and Xbox One came out, which made everyone hyped for a 60 FPS Need for Speed experience, not just on PC, but also on consoles. Only problem? Around the end of development, the developers must have realized 60 FPS could not be steadily held on console with these new graphics, so they had to downgrade it to 30 FPS. Okay, that's a bummer, but at least it looks kinda nice and we still have 60 FPS on PC, right? Well, as you might have seen in this video already, no, the PC version also runs on 30 FPS. I thought that was kinda weird and tried to fix it, but upon researching I realized that EA pretty much just lied and the PC version is most likely just a console version ported over to PC. So when people tried to fix it, you know what happened? Instead of running on a higher frame rate, the game just runs twice as fast. But Matt, that was back in the day in 2013. They fixed it, right? Well, it's 2021 now, and it's still not fixed. I'm guessing their train of thought would be something like, hey, f this, there's no more money to be made here, so let's start working on new games. That being, of course, 2015's Need for Speed, and fucking Need for Speed No Limits, because of course EA also had to take a little bite out of that sweet pay-to-win microtransaction cake. Needless to say, this game was heading straight for the shelf of games I will never play again. The only problem is that I might have thrown it a bit too hard and it landed straight in the trash. So of course at this point I was thinking Need for Speed straight up sucked, it couldn't be saved anymore, and I'd rather play a full week of Fallout 76 than to continue playing these games. But I actually just kept going, hoping it would get even just a little bit better. But did it actually become any better? Was the next game, 2015's Need for Speed, finally going to be a step in the right direction? Well, we'll find out in part 2 of this video. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and please let me know what you think of these two games and why you hated them as well. Or if you like them, please tell me why you're wrong. I hope to see you back again in part 2. Bye!